Tim. Yeah, Tim. Where are me? That's my dad. Tanzania. And Temba Experiment. Zimbabwe. This is Zimbabwe. Oh, yes. That's when I was in Zimbabwe. They now have how many? I think 3 or 4 houses. Yeah. But this one is a previous direct. Aye. Where Bruce? Yeah. Where Bruce? What I'm going? Yeah, that's
Oh, it took Kimberly 3 days to wake up. Hello, Kimberly. Welcome.
Thank you, Alan. I can see you.
Very good. Welcome. Don't forget, you must go on mute now. Thank you. Welcome back. Hope you had a good morning of reflection, a morning of prayer. Donovan, are you singing there? I got him off guard. Okay, welcome back. We head over to Father Ray. Welcome back to Sabon House. They couldn't join us this morning, is it? Or you did join? And Zimbabwe is still here. Good. There's St. Charles coming. Okay, over to you, Father Ray.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Is it clear? Good. Thank you for coming, for your patience, and for putting up with me again. This morning, I think it might have been a bit long, but it happens sometimes. So I'm glad we had the opportunity anyway to reflect on that particular pilgrimage pathway of obedience and authority. I've had time during this morning and today to think a little more deeply about that. So I'm wondering now if we could take a little sojourn on our pilgrimage, a little break, or in the Irish, a suspiog, a little rest. And so the pilgrimage we have been on has led us along pathways. We have traveled the pathway of hope, the pathway of chastity, then along the road of communion or community. And this morning we climbed the hill and trekked along the way of obedience. So this afternoon, we will take a little rest and stop in the field of simplicity. So just maybe yourself in a place of simplicity, a beautiful field or a beautiful place to be. Father Chicho, our new Superior General, mentioned this word in his homily as he began his ministry of service in the congregation. He said we have to be close to the poor, becoming first poor ourselves, to be honest with ourselves. This is what he said when he meant simplicity. Father Chicho then expressed his desire that we oblates realize that we, by our life and service, wherever we are called to be through obedience, should become sacraments of the God of for the poor and with the poor. Through this witness of the simplicity of lives, through how we love and through how we love and by our gospel obedience. So this is the kind of sentiment around this term of simplicity. So in this present moment, when you are asked to step away from the usual duties of, so as to give attention to your inner spiritual nourishment, let us rest a while in the field of simplicity. There is a BBC radio program running for many years called Desert Island Discs. Here, the person to imagine themselves on a remote desert island, and all they can take with them are 8 tracks, soundtracks, 1 book, and 1 luxury item. What would you do to your desert island? Guests share the soundtracks of their lives. And be celebrities or great scientists or musicians or people who have contributed to something in the world. They're interviewed like this. And so this experience gives the person to check. My internet is unstable. Can Jonathan tell me if you can hear me and see me okay?
Yeah, we hear you, we can see you, but there is a little bit of a break now and again. A word or two that we don't get.
Okay.
But otherwise, continue. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll continue. I just noticed something happening there. So anyway, this experience, this Desert Island Discs experience, gives the person the opportunity to lay out the story of their lives in such a simple and uncluttered way. They share a choice of songs or music that appeals to them because of some of their lives. And they take a book, not the Bible, and then some item they feel they need. Well, I'm not inviting you to a desert island. I want you to a rest stop on your pilgrimage, to a field we can call simplicity. And I wonder what tracks you would choose, and what book and what item you would like to have with you. About what they might be too. When we are alone, without actions of our lives, our business, when we are alone in ourselves, what is there inside us? What sustains my life? What do I carry in my heart? And where in that place dwells the God that I preach and proclaim to the world outside? As religious, we are formed for communion, and in faith we are never alone. God is with us always. However, I myself have often experienced doubts and questioned myself. Do I really believe that? Do I believe that Jesus Christ really dwells within me and not just expressed by me externally or outside of myself? Where in that place dwells the God that I claim to preach about and to proclaim? You see, when my source is run dry because overtired, or perhaps because I have not attended to my spiritual well-being, I have lost its source of nourishment, and I'm like a dry wilderness. When I look into my heart, I see a reflection. I see myself, the person I am. I see the oblate with all my faults and failings and my talents. Pope Francis refers to Jesus' merciful gaze of tender, the gaze of Jesus. Jesus looks with mercy and chooses us so that we can come to know the loving presence of God. So, there, Mike.
Everything is recurring sound.
Am I okay to continue?
I'm just trying to figure out who is not on mute. Yeah, I think you can continue.
Okay, I can continue. I was saying that Pope Francis refers to Jesus' merciful gaze of tender love for each of us, the gaze of Jesus. Jesus looks with mercy and chooses us so that we can come to know the loving presence of God. Once we have experienced Jesus' love and mercy, we may. So that experience of Jesus' love and mercy is not an imaginary thing. How do we experience in a real way that sense of love and mercy that calls us to follow him? The sacrament of reconciliation, attending to that important sacramental relationship with Jesus. So we have to present ourselves declare our sinfulness, our failings, and hear the words of love and compassion that restores us again so that we may follow him. May the gaze of Jesus, Pope Francis says, free us from the obstacles that stifle the desire to do something great with our lives. And when Pope spoke to the youth in Krakow in Poland a few years ago, he told them to download the best link of all, that of a heart which sees and transmits goodness without growing weary. The joy that you have freely received from God, freely give it away. People are waiting for it. God does not see as people sees. People looks at appearances, but God looks at the heart. So I think as we rest in the field of simplicity, we should look at the heart, our own heart, at our own relationship with Jesus. Beautiful Gospel of Luke 4:16-30. He sent me to bring the good news. I just want to read a little piece of it. Jesus came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, as he usually did. He stood up to read, and they handed him the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. Unrolled the scroll, he found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord has
So many.
He sent me to bring the good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to captives, and to the blind new sight, to set the downtrodden free, to proclaim the Lord's year of favor." Then he rolled up the assistant and sat down. All eyes in the synagogue were fixed on him. Then he began to speak to them. This text is being fulfilled today, even as you listen. And he won the approval of all. And they were astonished by the words, the gracious words that came from his lips. St. Eugene's life journey is worth considering when we listen to that gospel. His early life as a child was one of forced exile, on the move, various places along the way, and encounters with various people. Young adult life indicates a searching for fulfillment, and with it came a profound experience of the person of Jesus in his life. In 1807, he had, at the age of 25, received a special grace and an outside impulse, he called it. It converted him totally to Christ. That moved him along the path of priesthood, with a ministry that was specifically one of outreach to the poor. In 18, another strong outside influence led Eugene to join with some companions and founding of a religious community, and later his episcopal calling can show us a journey of service in response to God. His journey is one of seeing things and reacting. with his internal evolution and his external history. He constantly was evolving in his life. That is the action of the Spirit and is the origin of the oblate charism. In his writings, we come to know his character, his fiery temper, his compassionate heart, his humanity, his passionate love for the church, and his missionary heart. Read and learn about St. Eugene, Blessed Eugene as we knew him then. I wasn't comfortable with him. I was afraid of him. He was fiery. He was the letters were sometimes very fiery and almost aggressive in some of them. But then, of course, as he went through his years, I think like all of us, you might mellow a bit. And I found him to have a heart, a huge compassionate heart. So I think there was an evolution in his, a growth and an experience of the world that also helped him to adapt as he went along. We can see as we track his journey how he responded along the way to the invitation from God to trust and to be courageous for God's kingdom, where the poor of the world see now, is it possible to listen back to that gospel, the words of Jesus, to hear them as if for the first time? His reputation spread throughout that's like a ripple effect that gives the impression of people on their journey. When we think of the gospel story, the Spirit of the Lord has been given to me. It's his words to the community, to the people gathered. And the rolling up the scroll, it's in that. The words he proclaims, he becomes the Spirit of the Lord. He is the Spirit of the Lord. It is in action then that he moves. And in this text of Isaiah that Jesus uses to proclaim the gospel of the poor and oppressed, he's driving home the message. This text is being fulfilled. You are listening. This text is being fulfilled today, even as listening today. The word today is of great importance to Luke, the Gospel of Luke, because he uses it in a few important places. The Annunciation in the Annunciation to the shepherds, today in the city of David, a Savior has been born. To Zacchaeus, today I will come to eat with the thief on the cross. Today you'll be with me in paradise. This text is being fulfilled today, even as you are listening. So it's good to reread that, not as if I'm preparing for a homily, but as a listener, as a receiver of the word. So St. Eugene was aware of Jesus as his close friend, even when his friend was silent and seemingly absent. Father Jete, the Superior General, a few Superior General man, and a great man who's written a lot about the Apostolic Oblate, He tells us that the founder's outstanding characteristics are a strong integrated personality, which had undergone an experience of Jesus Christ, personal life, and of Christ's love for people, his radical choice for Jesus. I'm struck by what he calls a strong integrated personality. I don't think I have such a strong integrated person. Not so easy to find such a altogether kind of person. And when I think back about his life and what he's written, there is a brokenness and a healing in his life. There is a man who has struggled, floundered along the way a little bit, but also, as Father Jete says, an integrated personality, because in some way he has, with God's grace, managed to overcome challenges and difficulties. In his retreat notes in 1811, Eugene writes, "I am a sinner, I know that. I think of what I am in the eyes of God, admire his goodness, the patience with which he has awaited me. My excesses of ingratitude leaves me in a state of confusion, which is difficult to explain." And he goes on to say, "I have meditated on the use I make of creatures. I have no hesitation in seeing that I have been abusive in this respect, at least version. Far from using them for the purpose for which they were intended, I have made them serve my own needs. I have been concerned only with using them and taking pleasure in them. And much later in his life, in 1830, writing to Father Tompier, his great friend, he says, receiving communion, I dared to speak to my good master with the same abandon as I would have done if I had the happiness of living while he was on the earth. And I was in the same predicament as I am today. I made known my needs. I asked for light and assistance. And then I abandoned myself entirely, not wishing for anything other than God's holy will. I was at ease. I was happy. I felt loving and grateful. A couple of years earlier, he said to Father Tompier, I do all that I have to do. God will do the rest. We live only for him. The last reference I want to give from his writings. 7, to Father Gig, he wrote, we are the ministers of Christ's mercy. Let us always have the heart of a father. We in our must not only reconcile sinners, we must admit them to the sacred banquet. We must give them the bread of life so that their lives may be renewed. So as we are field of simplicity, I just want to bring you back to that image. It is true that the world is full of complexity, that life is complex, that human relations are complex. My head is complex. I'm worried about something, about how I'm perceived or understood by others. I'm worried about some issue in my ministry or in my life. Think of the flowers of the field. They do not weave or spin, yet Solomon in all his finery is not clad as one of these. Let us come back to that simplicity. Simplicity that is lived in faithful Jesus means freedom. And freedom is joyful. So as we look through the life of St. Eugene, see how he grew into a simplicity because his relationship with Jesus was so integrated and real and pure that he was able to be free. And that's the measure of simplicity, is to be a very free person. So I have to give to you now. Maybe to go to your room or be quiet after, this afternoon, this evening, to allow yourself again to become aware of the presence of God, to reflect on St. Eugene's relationship with Jesus, and to reflect on your own relationship with, and maybe to think of a question. Do you feel the gaze of Jesus as loving or as remote or judgmental? How do you feel the gaze of Jesus? And do you see yourself a loving person or a remote or judgmental person? St. Eugene often wrote much in his diary. He wrote many retreat notes, homily notes, and many, many letters, giving us an insight into his life with Jesus. So as I began the retreat a few days ago, I invited you to maybe do some journaling, to write notes for yourself during these days, and to describe the genuine sentiments of your heart in regard to your faith in Jesus, your life, and your mission. So that's all I have to offer you for this afternoon. So take something of that and maybe take that time to reflect on the theme of simplicity. And I think Father Jonathan has sent the link for the rosary. You're very welcome to join it this evening if you're able to. That's wonderful. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Anything, any questions or anybody want to ask anything? Okay.
Thank you, Father Ray. Yeah, as you said, that the link is sent out. If you did not receive it, we will try and send it again just now with Renee. Also, I got a message from Sister where Father Leo Roach is, Pretoria. Where's Vitalis now? Vitalis not there. He's not doing too well. Can we keep him in prayer? Try and go and see him. But let's keep him in prayer. We'll keep all other oblates who can't be with us, who are ill, who are sick. Let's keep them in prayer. Lady Selborne, he's in Lady Selborne. It means it's a trip to Pretoria, but okay. And then we'll send the notes when we receive them from Father. Thank you.
I will send them to you in the next half hour. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. See you later.